Welcome back to Believe in TCU, presented by FanDuel. I'm Zion Trammell, and as always, I'm joined by Seth Dowdle. It's a big week. It's SMU week. It's the battle for the Iron Skillet, and the final time for who knows how long, unfortunately. We don't know for how long. It's an absolute shame that this wonderful rivalry that dates back generations is being taken away from us. But don't worry, in this episode, we will be discussing the repercussions of it and, our take on this amazing rivalry between Dallas and Fort Worth and rivalry that brings the Metroplex together. But we'll start things off. We're going to just kind of give a preview into this game. Obviously, with SMU, they're coming off a tremendous season debut in the ACC. They made it all the way to the conference championship and lost to Clemson before losing in the first round of the CFP to Penn State. And so there were
by a lot of points, by the way.
There was a lot of points.
Kevin Jennings just threw another pick six.
Look, we gotta troll SMU a little bit, right? Like, come on.
Oh, another one.
Oh, they threw another one. Man, it's like that meme of Megamind, no CFP semifinal win. That's all I think. Or CFP win in general.
Yes. That's not true. Texas has won multiple now, but for 1 year, TCU was the only team in Texas to ever win a college football playoff game. They are still the only Big 12 team to win a college football playoff game. Oh, that's not true either. Wait, yes, it is. Texas lost their one time they were a member of the Big 12. Mm-hmm. And if you want to go really granular with it, the only team in DFW to ever win a playoff game. And if we want to get real specific, the only team in Tarrant County to ever win a college football playoff game. There's only one college in Tarrant County that would even have a shot at that, but and it's TCU. But there's the thing. You got to take your wins where you can.
Well, I've seen a lot of SMU fans saying I've never seen a school flex a semifinal win so hard. And then when asked, well, why don't you list your best wins? One of them was a win when they were in the AAC over Tulane. So
big win, by the way. Tulane, not a bad program whatsoever, but that does not compare whatsoever to beating Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
And look, there are a lot of programs that maybe won't flex a semifinal win, but TCU can because they are not in the category of the Alabamas, the Michigans, the Georgias. We don't compare as far as student population.
No, do not compare to Georgia whatsoever.
And success. Yeah,
50 points separate Georgia and TCU.
Yeah, we got killed by Georgia. We all are aware of that. But I would have taken that every single day of the week if it meant the season that TCU had. So, look, SMU fans, you can clown us all you want for that, but we're good.
Yeah, listen, clowning a blowout here. We'll just go into this, right? Clowning a blowout loss in a big spot is what rivals do. That's totally fair. It's fair game. That 100%. Happened. Clown us. It's fair. But what I'll say is compare the two, right? Y'all, I'm referring to them as if I'm on the team. SMU lost big time to Penn State. Now, I know the score was closer than 65-7, but again, Kevin Jennings just threw another pick six. It just happened outside my window. I'm watching a Nittany Lion carry a football
through the end zone. Through your house, walking right through
there. That happened in the first round.
Yeah.
TCU's happened in the final game of the year.
No.
Yours happened on TNT. People forget that game was on TNT, Turner Network Television.
We lost
on big old ESPN with Reese Davis on the call. Not Reese Davis, Chris Fowler.
We lost to the Avengers. Okay. We were like
Y'all lost to Drew Aller.
We lost to like a ton of NFL players.
Jordan Davis was on that team.
We were like,
Brock Bowers was just running up and down the field on us.
yeah. We were like the superhero team from SpongeBob playing up against Thor and the Avengers. Okay. Give us a little. Actually, no, you can clown us. It's okay. But that's kind of that's what we were up against. Okay. Georgia was going to kill whoever played them in the national championship. But, anyways.
Georgia beats Michigan. I just want to make that clear. Michigan beats TCU. Georgia beats Michigan. Probably by like multiple touchdowns.
Yeah. 100%. But we're going to move on now. That was a couple years ago. But you know,
we're just doing a take the L dance on both of us is what we're doing.
Yeah, we were going to talk about SMU. Instead, we're going to just talk about the CFP.
Defend our honor.
Yeah. Okay, but we're going to talk about SMU this year because they had some pretty high expectations. A team that looked like, hey, they were going to that they still can. I said like they can't anymore. That they were going to compete for the ACC, and they certainly have the talent to do so. They got off to a pretty good start, beating East Texas A&M 42-13. Then they
wish they beat Texas A&M. I know that's what you're about to say.
I know that would be pretty impressive if they did, but they beat the team East.
They beat a directional school.
Yeah. And then in week 2, they had a huge game against Baylor on the CW where they lost 48-45 in double overtime. They led multiple times during that game, but Sawyer Robertson was just too much for SMU. And then really the big concern was last week defeating Missouri State 28-10. But that game, they were down 10-0. And that game was kind of close for a while there until the Mustangs put them away there in the fourth quarter. But
they definitely play with their food a lot. There was a lot of just shenanigans that SMU was pulling. Like there was multiple possessions in a row where they had a turnover. And obviously Missouri State is Missouri State. And so it's not going to be one of those things where that might like bite you. Right. But it definitely had the potential to if they didn't get their act together. They fortunately did. Kevin Jennings threw an interception on the first possession, then they fumbled their second, and then they missed a field goal on their third, and that's when they scored a touchdown. And then they punted again, and then they finally broke through the end zone on a 12-play, 73-yard drive in the second quarter. And then after that, you kind of get your feet back underneath you and go into the half and whatnot, and you pull away because it's Missouri State. It's their first year in the FBS. For some reason, this game was on the road for SMU. I have no idea why, but they get it done. But you can't leave that game feeling too good about yourself. And Kevin Jennings got a little banged up at the end too, so he might not be fully 100% heading into the biggest game of SMU season so far.
It is definitely a concern for sure. We'll see kind of how he fares in the game, and obviously TCU's got some injuries as well. But yeah, we could talk a little bit more about SMU. What has kind of been your takeaway from them this season so far?
Well, I think we knew that defense had improved a lot last year over how it had been in previous Rhett Lashley seasons, because Rhett Lashley is a really good offensive coach and he knows how to score a lot of points, as evidenced by what they did a lot of the times last year where they just kind of blitzed opponents with a lot of offense. But that defense was kind of the biggest surprise for a lot of people, that it was able to improve as much as it did. And now we knew with that, like with some, talent departing, whether due to graduation or to the NFL or the transfer portal or whatever, that there was going to be a little bit of regression probably in that group. I was unaware that they were going to have one of the worst passing defenses in the country. They rank 132nd out of 136 in pass defense through 3 weeks. A lot of that is due to Sawyer Robertson just being that guy, but still there has been some concerns elsewhere in terms of them allowing a lot of yards through the air to Missouri State and to, a little bit to East Texas A&M as well. So I think the big question when it comes to matchup wise is, can SMU's secondary prevent Josh Hoover from just doing whatever he wants?
It doesn't get much easier for this SMU defense. Josh Hoover, we talked about this in years past. This rivalry, lots of points have been scored, and Josh Hoover playing at home is pretty lights out in his career. So with the way that this offense has looked through the air so far, SMU is going to have their hands full, and I'm not really sure how they're going to be able to slow down Josh Hoover. I mean, you could take away Eric McAllister all you want, but now you got to deal with Jordan Dwyer, who's had a monster start to the season, or vice versa. If you want to focus on Jordan Dwyer, well, you have one of the more underrated wide receivers in the country with Eric McAllister, who's physical and has great speed and can do just about everything a wide receiver can offensively. So it's going to be a challenge for SMU's defense.
For sure. And I think the one way that they can neutralize that is obviously, turnovers that Josh creates himself or that they create themselves, which is kind of what happened last season. TCU put up a lot of points and moved the ball pretty well against SMU overall. Like, they had a decent success rate, but they could not stop shooting themselves in the foot. They had multiple turnovers that resulted in scores, and that led to SMU just completely destroying them, right? I think I'm going to look at the box score in a second, but I think TCU outgained them in that game. And so it's just one of those situations where TCU can't afford to, shoot themselves in the foot over and over again. And that comes hopefully with some more experience from this whole group from last year's game, which was a disaster, right? And I think we do need to talk about last year's game and maybe how it affects this year's, right? That was by far the worst TCU SMU showing of the past decade. There have been some good ones. TCU has lost some games to SMU. Maybe, the other one that would rival it was the 2021 game where Mordecai, I don't remember his first name.
I think it's Tanner
Mordecai for SMU.
I don't know why that just, now I got to look.
Freaking dicing up TCU secondary like crazy. That game was not fun at all. But then last year's was, Sonny Dykes got ejected. Like, that's the biggest thing, right? Like, the vibes could not have been more worse than Sonny Dykes being ejected in the building that he used to coach in.
It was really ugly, and yeah, it is Tanner Mordecai. That 2021 game was my first exposure to TCU and SMU. It was my first semester there, and I brought my parents. It was family weekend. Well, I didn't bring, my parents flew for, the weekend, and not fun. And then last year really sucked. Yeah, it was 66-42. And Sonny Dykes getting ejected was really bad. It was a sloppy game. And I hope that that game is completely washed away and that TCU can play much better this season, because that was really bad. Embarrassing.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. And it kind of gives me fear, right? And we'll talk about this in a little bit. Like, this is the last one for whoever knows how long. I'm going to have a bold prediction. Here's my bold prediction. This game, these two teams will play each other again at some point in the future. Like, there's no way that doesn't happen. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is the last one for whoever knows how long, and you want to go out on a really good foot. And luckily it's in your place, which I think is an added bonus, right? TCU has, for the most part, played really well against SMU at home over the course of the 21st century. So that is hopefully an added benefit. And hopefully that, calms the offense down enough to where they don't make those same mistakes that they did early in the SMU game last year, where it was kind of clear that it got away from them super duper quick.
One of the keys to this game, I think, with last year's game, they could not run the football. Cam Cook was the leading rusher with 24 yards. They ran for 65 yards total. That just cannot happen. And that obviously a lot of this is going to depend on Kevorian Barnes' health. There's reports that he's questionable right now. It's really hard to know if he's going to play or not because college injury reports to me are just a little bit shaky.
They do lie, especially if you're Lane Kiffin. That man lies.
Yeah, he does. And look, we don't know what his availability, I think, probably tends to lean a little more positive that he can play. And that's huge. That's absolutely huge. If TCU can find a way to run the football well with the way that SMU's secondary has looked, that could set up some big things on the back end of this game. If you're able to run the football successfully, that's going to open the playbook up for Kendall Briles to unleash Josh Hoover against this defense. So Kevorian Barnes has to play.
He has to play. It's a big thing. And, he didn't practice early in the week. And Sonny Dykes said in his, early week press conference, I think that was on Tuesday, that we'd know more by Thursday whether or not he could play in this game. That is today. We have not heard anything yet. So we will see about that. And maybe by the time this podcast comes out to all y'all, we'll have more clarity on that situation. But as of now, here in the morning, we don't. But hopefully he can play. If not, it'll be Jeremy Payne. And Jeremy Payne is no slouch himself. He's shown – I've liked what I've seen from the running back group as a whole this season anyway, right? We've been able to see a lot of them because TCU has been able to pull ahead a lot of these games early, and they've been able to put in some more of the depth pieces. John Denman has looked really, really feisty is kind of how I would explain how he's been running so far. And then Jeremy Payne is really just kind of a fun, speedy kind of back. Definitely does not provide as much north-south as Kevorian Barnes does. And those two that I just mentioned, Denman and Payne, definitely give more Cam Cook vibes. That's not an insult. That's just more of like, side to side, definitely not trying to, pound it straight through the middle as much as maybe Barnes is, because he's just kind of that big body who's able to drag defenders along with him. Either way, though, I think TCU will be able to run the ball a bit more. Part of the reason why they didn't run the ball a lot last year is because they were behind so early that they had to air it out. And obviously, it also just wasn't working either. We'll see if they can do it this year, though.
Another thing I wanted to talk about for SMU, and something that's really surprised me when I was kind of just looking through the stats from them this season, is RJ Maryland this season.
Yeah.
8 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. That one came against Missouri State.
Invisible.
He's been invisible. I mean, I know you've talked about him a lot on your college football podcasts and whatnot. And as a guy that is one of the better tight ends in the country, he's been invisible for SMU. So wondering how much he'll be involved on Saturday.
Supposed best tight ends in the country, I guess, right? I mean, he missed pretty much the back half of last season due to an injury, but before that, right, he was the guy that no one could cover and no one could do anything with. And so far this year, you're right? 8 catches for how many yards and just 1 touchdown. And I was very positive of him in the preseason. I think I heralded him as maybe one of the top 3 tight ends in the country just because of what I saw last year. Led me to believe such a fact.
100%.
Also, a little bias on this. Fun fact, RJ Maryland, son of Russell Maryland, former Cowboys first-round pick and offensive lineman back in the 90s. RJ Maryland was on my track team in 4th grade.
Hey, how about that? There you go.
He was the best on the team by far.
I can't say I'm surprised.
And that was before. What's crazy about that, right, is he's a tight end. He's a bigger guy now, right? He's put on some mass. He was skinny back in the day, and then obviously, he's put on some muscle, and he's kind of been a little bit more. But he's still got that speed that he had, which is why I was like, I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I know it was like over 15 years ago, but like I know what he can. He was really fast. He was really fast. I know that he's really athletic and whatnot, and I don't know if the injury has hampered him enough, or maybe he's just regressed a little bit. But yeah, it's been super surprising that he's been not able to put up as much production. Now, knowing how these things go, he's going to come out against TCU and go for 150 and 3 scores. But so far, not so good for RJ Maryland.
And another guy that a lot of people were excited about was Jordan Hudson, not Bill Belichick's girlfriend.
Former TCU wide receiver Jordan Hudson.
Former TCU wide receiver, yes. He got hurt on the opening drive of their first game of the year and has not appeared since. So I don't know if he's going to play against TCU. If he does, you got to imagine that he's going to have a little bit more of a fire in him than he already did. Last year, he only had 2 catches for 10 yards, but of course, one of them was a touchdown. So,
yes. Yeah. That's one of those stories, right, where he was pretty exciting in 2022. Now, he didn't get as many opportunities maybe as he thought he was going to, but given the receivers that TCU had, I feel like he got more than I thought he would, to be quite honest with you. And then he transferred back to where he had originally committed in SMU when Sonny Dykes was the head coach there. And I'd say he's been fine there. I don't think he's really been the breakout star that a lot of people thought he was going to be. He has not made headlines like maybe his recruiting ranking suggested that he might.
Yeah, it's definitely been kind of a disappointment. Maybe not a disappointment, but just like par for the course, I guess.
Yeah, but this season was expected for. I mean, he's been in college for a while now, so it was expected that he was going to be able to break out maybe a bit this year. And him and RJ Maryland were the guys that I was like, look at these 2 receivers, but it's really not been them at all. It's been Brinson for SMU that's really been the breakout star, not Jordan Hudson. So obviously he's been hurt, which is a big factor in that. But a lot of unknowns for this SMU offense for me coming into this one based on like my preseason expectations. Obviously, Romello Brinson has been really good, and Kevin Jennings will be tough to defend. That's how I'll put it. TC will have to figure out ways to trick him.
Yeah, Kevin Jennings he's had a pretty decent start to the season. But TCU struggled to contain him last year. I think he had like over 130 something rush yards last season. Oh, never mind that. He did not, but it wasn't even close. He had 40, but
it felt like he had 1,000. That's why you said that. It felt like he had so many, and TCU struggled to contain running quarterbacks last year. And it wasn't even that like those running quarterbacks would run a lot on them. What would happen was, since TCU had to be worried about that, they got, I think, confused with how many assignments that they might have had on a given play. And it just opened up other opportunities for offenses to exploit their inefficiencies.
It did. It's going to be tough. And, Kevin Jennings is a good quarterback. And so that it's going to be a handful for this TCU defense coming off a pretty below average performance against Abilene Christian. Great first half, not so great second half. So I'm not expecting, I said this in our last episode, I'm not expecting a lot of great things from this defense. I'm not expecting a lot of great things from SMU's defense. This game's probably going to be a shootout. It may come down to who has the ball last. I hate that too. But I trust Josh Hoover enough to feel confident that if he has the ball, he can do what's necessary for TCU to win this game. But it's probably going to come down to the defense coming up with a big sack or coming up with an interception to change the course of this game. They did that against UNC. Bud Clark, that pick six kind of changed the course of that game. So it's probably going to require something along those lines if TCU is going to win this football game.
Yeah, and I think first of all, the total for this game is 64.5. I think anything under 70, you just fire that off and bet the over.
100%. Yes. Yeah. According to FanDuel, point spread for TCU is at 7.5. Over under. Yeah. What did you say?
7.5 is a lot. I think it opened at 6.5, so that's gone up a point.
We thought that it would come down, but it is not. And I would just like to say this, and I think all TCU fans can agree with me. I'm not feeling great about that. Like I can't confidently say that TCU is going to cover there.
Yeah, and I think a big reason of that is like TCU's only played in 2 games. One of them was nationally televised, and everyone saw TCU freaking put BTA to one of the best head coaches of all time. Now, if you're asking Colin Cowherd, not the best NFL coach of all time.
We beat him too, though. Don't worry.
I forgot we did beat Jim Harbaugh too.
Yeah, that's who Colin Cowherd is declaring as maybe one of the greatest coaches of all time. By the way,
go watch that clip on the internet. It's very funny. I'm not going to expound on it much further, but Zion showed it to me before we started recording. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, everyone's seen that, and also everyone's seen SMU not look too great through 3 games. Right? They lost to Baylor. They choked a 2-touchdown lead late in the 4th quarter against Baylor, and then they had to come back against Missouri State. And so just kind of and no one watched TCU play Abilene Christian. No one knows that game even happened. So it makes sense, I think. And it's at home. You think that TCU has some motivation, a revenge spot, given what happened last year, the last one. I don't know. It makes me nervous, though. It makes me really nervous.
There will not be a lack of fire or focus from either team. Both teams.
They better not be, by the way. There better not be. Last year there was.
Yeah, 100%. Like, this coaching staff has got to have these guys ready, and I think they will. I think we have like a proof of concept with that with UNC. Like, they came out, they heard a lot of the noise, and they went out and took care of business. I don't think TCU is going to go out there and destroy SMU because they are much better than North Carolina, but I think those guys should be fired up. Both coaches should be saying, they don't want this. This is the last game. Like, they don't want to play you guys anymore. No matter who's right or who's wrong about this, you need to be saying this. You need to get these guys fired up because the fans will be engaged. It's going to be rowdy, and I can't wait. I really cannot wait. I'm nervously excited for TCU and SMU.
This game sets the tone. It's the final non-conference game. It sets the tone for the rest of the year because immediately after this, TCU is going to Tempe and playing Arizona State. You win this one against SMU, you enter that game cloud 9. Because TCU's got a tough start to the Big 12 schedule. And sure, if you lose this game, your Big 12 goals are still right in front of you, right? You have not played a Big 12 game yet. You can still win the conference and still go to the playoff. You win this game, though, first, it legitimizes you a little bit because you've beaten an ACC opponent. It legitimizes the Big 12 because the Big 12 has beaten the same ACC opponent twice. You and Baylor can go do a little kumbaya dance together before you play each other later in October. I'm just imagining it's the SpongeBob meme. Second SpongeBob reference of the day. TCU and Baylor running outside the window while the SMU Squidward looks out.
Yep, exactly. We will not fail to mention SpongeBob, I guess.
So do that. And I know I'm getting a little, big picture here, but I do think, right, that you lose this game, you're going to feel pretty down. Because I think there's a lot of stakes. The magnitude around this one is crazy. And maybe not nationally, even though they'll try to tell you that this means a lot to them. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. But this obviously means a lot to these two schools, given the context of this game.
It's a huge game, and it's understating it. So there's a lot of town, there's a lot of city pride, there's a lot of school pride, there's a lot on the line here. And for these players, they want to be remembered as the team to defeat the other one in the final game of this rivalry for who knows how long. Obviously I kind of agree with you. I think they will play each other again at some point. But we don't know when that's going to be.
Can I gander a guess?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be because they're forced to. Here's my galaxy brain. So the ACC is a dead conference walking. Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, and North Carolina, maybe Duke, maybe Virginia, they are going to leave in 5 or so years. The Big Ten and the SEC are going to come calling. The rest of those programs and the Big 12, what are they going to do? Right? We don't know what they're going to do. Maybe that's when a reconciliation happens.
Okay. I like that. I mean, it'd be cool to have SMU in the same conference as TCU again. That would, that'd be pretty sweet.
I was sitting on my couch yesterday dreaming about like what my ideal college football scenario would be like. This is what I do. This is what
only Seth would have dreams about this.
And I was like, okay, what would I do if I was the commissioner of college football, right? What would I do? TCU and SMU. I'd basically just recreate the Southwest Conference. Is what I would do. This was my first move of action. Everyone, come back.
I love it.
Come back. We're playing each other again. Texas A&M. I know you hate each other. Come on, get back in here. I know you love each other. Come on. Can't be without each other. Baylor. Come on.
I love it.
SMU. But it means a lot, right? Going back to that. There's other case studies about these rivalry games that don't happen for a long time. When Texas and Texas A&M stopped playing each other, they knew what the last game was going to be. Texas goes into College Station and beats Texas A&M on a walk-off field goal. They could hold on to that for like 15 years. They held on to that. Oklahoma State beat OU in the final bedlam. People forget. I know Oklahoma State is not is a bad place right now, but they'll have that.
They have that, and it's eternal bragging rights. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, conference realignment, though, really sinks. And that's not the reason why TCU and SMU aren't playing, by the way. They could still play. I think they could still play.
100%. Do we want to do a score prediction?
Yeah.
Okay. We can do score prediction. So, I'm going to go with SMU. No, I'm just kidding. What? You think I'm going to pick SMU on a TCU show?
After all this talk about SMU secondary sucks.
Josh Hoover's going to throw for 400 yards. Kavorian Barnes is going to find the end zone a couple times.
SMU 50, TCU 49.
No, TCU's going to win this game. Come on now. I'm going to go with TCU 42, SMU 34. So TCU covers.
Like it. Yep. Very similar score to the 2022 game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that this game could have a similar script to that one, where TCU always in control, SMU kind of right there on their tail where they're not done, but TCU consistently responding with scores to put them away. TCU has scored 40 points in both their games so far. I got TCU 42, SMU 35.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, I think that's very much how this game is going to go. TCU hopefully controlling time of possession, putting the Mustangs to sleep slowly but surely, but SMU's just hanging on, not super far behind. Can't put them away yet, and then hopefully TCU can kind of put things away towards the end of this game. It's going to be a fun one. Can't wait. 11 a.m.
It's going to be agonizing is what it's going to be.
Yeah, at least we don't have to wait all day. Like, you can wake up,
get out of the way.
Just get some stuff done, and then get your early morning chores done, whatever you need to do, then just lock in, and then you got the rest of the day to either celebrate or be in agonizing pain. So there's no other scenario, unfortunately.
Yeah, can't wait.
Why are you?
I was just thinking about it's like every time this TCU SMU game has been, and I think this is a good segue into talking about the importance of this game, if that's okay.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, we weren't going to not mention this. Yeah.
Over the past 6 years, TCU SMU has been more stressful to me than TCU Baylor, and that is not because I think Baylor is still TCU's biggest rival. We're going to be playing Baylor for the rest of time. We'll play them this year. We'll play them next year. But the closeness of TCU SMU, and then also the fact that there is now this extra added complexity of SMU's head coach came to coach TCU, and now everyone hates each other. Maybe not even equally, right? I think SMU might even hold some more disdain for us than we do for them. This year, this game has stressed me to high heaven every single year for the past 6 years. And it's pretty much ever since Sonny Dykes got there when SMU finally started to figure their crap out and get a little competitive. But if TCU wins this game, I will leave Saturday at this game will end, at 2:30 probably. And I will be so happy. I will want to watch all the college football games that day celebrating. That's how I'll celebrate. If they lose it, I don't know if I'll want to watch a college football game again until TCU plays Arizona State on Friday.
That's it. I'm done. Yeah.
This one means a lot to a lot of people, and it means a lot to these two people right here, where it will ruin my day if TCU loses to SMU.
It certainly will. And look, I think, yeah, the close proximity of this rivalry is really what kind of makes it more exciting. And man, I don't know. I'm like I said, I was not a TCU fan before. Like I knew about TCU, but so this hasn't been like a lifelong thing for me. But I have so much love for this school, and it feels like it's not just a football game. It's like representative of the entire university and in the entire city of Fort Worth. I know fans online like to argue Fort Worth versus Dallas, like which city's better. I don't really dive into that much. I don't really care. It's more about the university to me of TCU needs to be better than SMU. So yeah, Sonny Dykes, he did an incredible job of rage baiting this week. He said on Twitter that he was surprised at how much the rivalry didn't matter at SMU when he first took over for the Mustangs. Said it was probably because it was so lopsided before his tenure. And then he goes on to say that he thinks Baylor is TCU's biggest rival based on being one of the few things the Big 12 protects in rivalries. I
love it. And by the way, I do want to there was no untruths there. He did not say a lie. Sonny Dykes does not lie to you.
He doesn't.
He does not lie. He's definitely doing that on purpose to rage bait, but I don't think it did matter at SMU before Sonny Dykes got there because they couldn't beat us. And football didn't matter for them. They literally, no one showed up to their games.
That's true.
They should thank Sonny Dykes, actually. Actually, that's what they should do. That's what, if he really wanted to rage bait, he would have got up there and go, they should thank me, honestly.
If he said that, oh my goodness, that would have been crazy. No, I don't think SMU fans are going to be thanking Sonny Dykes anytime soon, but that's okay. He's our head coach, so it's fine.
No, yeah. But he is the reason that this game got interesting, and then he's also partially the reason it's not happening anymore.
Yeah, that's also true. And it is a shame that we're not getting this game. And, I think TCU, we can take the blame for that, unfortunately. And I hope that Mike Buddy can kind of recognize that and hopefully make that change for the future so that this game can happen again. Because look, nobody cares about playing Arkansas State, whoever the heck we're playing in the future. It means nothing. It's a meaningless game. And it looks even worse if you somehow lose that game. You lose to SMU. Look, they're a good team. They're a quality opponent. That's not going to derail your entire season. So
it didn't it didn't really last year, right? TCU still had a decent year. I'd say other games derailed their season. Losses to UCF and Houston is what put them down. It wasn't the loss to SMU.
Yeah.
So yeah, I obviously it is a shame that this game is not being played anymore. TCU needs to get their act together on that front, and I know it can't happen for a while because you have already scheduled those games and those contracts are locked in. But once those are done, like I don't know when, like 2029 or 2030 or whatever, get this game back on the schedule and play the game so that your fans want you to play. TCU fans, they might not say it out loud, and it's probably because they hate SMU. They want to play SMU.
100%.
These two TCU fans want to play SMU every year because it gives us the feeling that I fell in love with in college football, which is I fell in love with collegiate athletics because even when I wasn't watching a lot of it, I always watched OU Texas because my mom was a Sooner and we hated Texas. And so we would sit down on the couch every October and watch OU and Texas play. Whenever I started to have love for TCU, I didn't watch a lot of TCU games, honestly, but I watched TCU Baylor every year. And I remember the thoughts and the feelings and like the feeling of this amazing feeling you have like whenever your team wins a big game against someone you hate. And then that feeling when you lose, right? That's what I fell in love with. And then finally we start getting that with TCU and SMU, and then they pull the rug right out from under us and say, actually, we're not going to do this anymore. And that really, really sucks. And it's happening. It's not just happening TCU, SMU. It's happening across the country with a ton of rivalries. And thankfully, some of them are coming back, but not forever. And I think if the biggest stain that of this new era of college football is that they're taking away from us the things we hold most dearest when it comes to this sport. And it is these rivalries that we love.
Well said, Seth. Well said. I totally agree with you there. You said it all right there. I mean, that's the importance of rivalries and what makes college athletics so great. It is a shame that this rivalry is going away, but let's hope for the sake of our mental health and our sanity that
TCU wins this game, please.
That TCU wins this final installment of the Iron Skillet for now, and we can reclaim it and take it back from SMU and keep it in Fort Worth for a long time, very long time.
Yeah. This is the 105th meeting, maybe the 104th meeting.
Yeah.
They've been meeting since 1915. TCU leads the all-time series 53-43, and there's been 7 ties as well. I think as in the offseason, a podcast project, go back and watch the 7 ties between TCU and SMU.
I'm down. Let's do it. Yeah.
This game means a lot is kind of the thing, right? And it obviously means us saying how much it means to us didn't matter. The fact that this game has been played before, it's been played since Woodrow Wilson was the president of the United States.
That's crazy.
So in the only 3 years that this game has not been played since then, were the 2 years where the NCAA said that SMU can't have a football program anymore, and COVID.
And it's insane that it's not going to be a part of our lives. Like that's crazy that's the only 2 times. It's unbelievable. But
even whenever the Southwest Conference exploded and they expelled TCU and SMU to the outer void, TCU and SMU still played each other. TCU didn't play Baylor every year. TCU didn't play Texas every year, but they played SMU every year.
A rivalry that like I said, dates back generations, and it's going to be fun to watch here on Saturday, 11 a.m. ESPN2. Seth, you said a lot of great things about the history and just what this rivalry means to you, and I think you're speaking for a lot of TCU and SMU fans for the impact of this game. And I hope we get a good one on Saturday and one that can be remembered for a very, very long time. Well, that'll wrap things up here for our SMU preview. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait for the game, and we will recap it for you next week. And the tone of that episode is
to be determined.
Is TBD. So we can't wait. We'll bring it all for you next week. But we'd like to thank you all for tuning into this episode of